I'm Jason Sterling, and several months ago, it's been several months now, I did a single video about the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser, the Halcyon. The sort of hotel was kind of how it was being billed at the time, like a cruise ship in space. And they'd come out with some marketing that was just a mess. Oh my God, what a mess that commercial was. So I did kind of a video about it. Now, I didn't keep doing videos about it because I wasn't really there to harp on it. I was just kind of, as someone who was seriously considering going, because I love Star Wars. See my little robot back here? It's my RU-USLS droid that I built at Galaxy's Edge. My son and I love Galaxy's Edge. It's our favorite part of Disney World. And so, as someone who really had considered going, I kind of put out this opinion on it, or on the marketing, right, of it. And it looked awful. It looked awful. Someone got fired at Disney. That one. I don't know. You know, that stuff's always done by committee, like a board of people. So I know several people signed off on that mess, and it looked horrible. It really did look horrible. There still really wasn't a clear cut. I felt like this is what it's about type of message. This is what you're going to do. And so it looked really bad. Now, I said at the time, is this a studio mock-up just for the ad? Is this not finished? Kind of what's the deal with this that it looks so bad? And also I kind of questioned, what is this about? What are we supposed to do? Now, I left with an open mind on that one, this kind of idea. I'm just going to keep watching and see what happens. And since then, in the preceding months, especially once it opened, about what is today, the 18th, about 3 weeks ago, we've seen a lot of stuff. We've seen a media day, but we've also seen, even more importantly, people who actually paid, went on board, sailed, and then come back with their own reports, whether they're YTers or whether they're just people on Facebook, on Facebook groups, about what they thought about it. That's what we're going to look at today. What is it like now, all these months after? What do I think about it? What do I think about the value? And would I go on it now? Okay, so there's been a ton of new videos out. A ton. But that's actually kind of good because it does look better. It does look better. Gee, Disney, how come? Well, they can make it look so much better. Well, it's finished, I think. I don't think any longer that the original marketing that Disney yanked after a week, I don't think that was a studio mock-up, although it still could have been. I just think the place wasn't finished. And someone had this idea, hey, let's do a video in the actual place and not explain to anybody that it's not done, because they kind of presented it like it was finished. I don't know. Anyway, the new stuff it does look a lot better. I mean, I was really surprised. I do think it looks good. I really like a lot of the immersive aspects of it, which is also coming to really be an example of what it's about. It's not really a place to stay. Okay. It's not really a place to hang out and stay. It's a place to go and have an event, to have an immersive, interactive, 2-day long adventure. So it is a lot more like a 2-day long Rise of the Resistance ride where you can get out of the car, where you can get out of your vehicle and go interact. And from that standpoint, it is actually looking really good. Now, again, I've watched a lot of videos on this, and I really don't care if someone's super excited. I really don't care if they're like, oh my God, you have to go. Oh, yeah, great. Thank you for telling me that. I just care about what can I see? What can I see? What does the environment look like? How are they interacting? How are people interacting with them? What does this look like? And it looks really good. It does. I mean, I can easily own up on that. I'm not like a hater. I think it looks really good. It does look super immersive. Even to, like, one thing I was really impressed by was actually seeing real food on a plate in a real dining room. The food looks fantastic. Now, someone could say, hey, you really think you're going to spend that much money for the food? Well, no, not just for the food, but food is really a big tie-in to culture and society. And so the way the food presents itself, I mean, if they bring you a corn dog on a plate just with a different name, it's not going to immerse you in that environment, which is one of the problems I actually have with Galaxy's Edge is because Ronto Roasters, everyone raves about Ronto Roasters. That's a sausage in a pita with coleslaw on it. Okay. And it looks like a sausage in a pita with coleslaw on it. Has nothing to do with how it tastes. It tastes fine, but all their food just looks completely normal to me in Galaxy's Edge. Except Oga's Cantina has a few things. I think it's the Rhodian rations and stuff like that. That's a little bit different, and the drinks are a little bit different, and that's why I like Oga's Cantina better. But back to the Halcyon, the food really immersives you. Is that it? That's not a word, is it? Anyway, it really surrounds you with the culture and environment of where you are. Ta-da! Also, it's a lot more areas of the ship to explore. It is a core world ship, so it's definitely the new Star Wars look. To me, it reminds me a lot of Bespin, Cloud City. Reminds me a lot of Cloud City or the Tantive 4 or a Mon Calamari Star Cruiser, which I think at one time, and I don't know if this was fan fiction or what, non-canon sources, it feels like there was like a thing where the Mon Calamari warships were actually converted cruise liners, so it does have that kind of feel. This is coming from the newer part of Star Wars. This is a vacation, like Cloud City was a resort. The part of Cloud City we saw is a resort. Of course, it looks nice and new. And it's going to the old part, the old worn out, used up part of Star Wars, which is Batuu, Galaxy's Edge, which I love. Like I said, I love it. So it does really fit the role, I think, that it was given. Okay, now I still think there are some bad parts of it. One of the big things, the lounge is too small. The lounge is too small. There were commentators on YouTube during their videos that actually said the lounge filled up with people, and if you wanted to get in, too bad. You had to stay in the atrium. Now they had table service in the atrium for the lounge, where they bring you drinks and food and stuff, but it's still not the same environment, still not the same feel. A lot of people are going to want to hang out in the lounge, and it is too small. And that's something Disney should have guessed from the start and made larger. They've got plenty of room there, you guys. That's what they should have done. The sabacc table is too small. It only holds 4 people. Only 4 people at a time can play. Now, I haven't really heard any complaints about that yet, but still, there it is. I still think, for God's sakes, Disney, you've got a whole costuming department, and you've put Gaia in that wretched dress. It is wretched. It looks horrible. Her headpiece still looks like rubber plastic. It does. Really? Really? I'm gonna grab a picture here from The Mandalorian. Why doesn't she look like this? Now, this is probably CGI. Maybe that's why. But she should look more like this instead of this, because it does look like a mess. And it's really too bad, because I'm going to say this. Unlike a lot of people, I think she's a talented singer. If she's actually the one doing the singing, I think she's a talented singer. And I don't have a problem with the music. There's been a lot of people who are kind of like, oh, that doesn't sound like Star Wars. Or what the hell does sound like Star Wars? I mean, what? Sounds like Star Wars to me, kind of. I mean, like anything else. Is the band in the Cantina Star Wars music? Is the band at Jabba's Palace Star Wars music? Are Ewoks in the jungle Star Wars music? All of those are musical types we've gotten in Star Wars. So it seems to me Star Wars in a galaxy of like 1 million planets with quadrillions of people, you're going to have a lot of different musical styles, just like here on Earth, right? So the sort of pop dance music they've got going does not bother me. And I think she's an excellent singer. She deserves a better dress, Disney. She does. And beyond that, I really don't have a problem with the rest of it. I do feel like the problem with the lounge with it being small, I don't know. I haven't heard any more complaints about that. I've not heard any more complaints with the rest of the ship. So maybe the rest of the ship, even the smaller spaces, are balanced well enough that it doesn't get overwhelmed. I don't know. Seems fine, though, beyond that. The one thing that I would still say is that the bridge stuff still looks like a video game. Although the bridge looks better. The bridge does look better. I've always liked the rooms. I don't have a problem with the rooms. Some people make a joke about the bunk beds in the room. To me, those look just like the sleeping alcoves on the Millennium Falcon. I love it. I love them. I mean, I would want to sleep in there. Yeah, I'd want to sleep in those. The rest of the room is a little small. Not as small as a cruise ship room. Not as small as some cruise ship rooms. But it is a little small. The bathroom, though, seems nice. You have a great view into space. And I just don't think you're going to be there much. But I do think it looks good. Now, let's talk about price. It's still expensive. The price did not change between the negative marketing, the horrible stuff Disney put out, and the better stuff that media and bloggers and stuff put out, and just people just traveling, just regular people on Facebook. There's a lot of people not on YouTube or anything else have posted pictures, posted their experiences, or lightly, like, oh my God, I love it, you have to go type stuff. So in between those 2 points, no, the price did not change. And if it does, it'll probably go up because it's Disney. And that's the first thing to say. Disney's expensive. Disney is expensive. In fact, I've still got it laying here. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm going to show you this. This is, I got this. And don't make any mistake, because I'm about to tell you the price. You're going to think, oh, that's ivory. No, that's not ivory. That's plastic. That's plastic. There's not really anything, not really anything on the back. Just that. Okay. And it's a Christmas ornament. And it's from 2009. I went to Pop Century for the first time in 2009. I love Pop Century, by the way. Let me throw that in real quick. I love Pop Century. And especially like it now that it has a Skyliner. That was a good decision by Disney. I give them big kudos on that because they extended that out to a value being relative to Disney Resort. And they didn't have to. And I do feel like, and it touches on a moderate resort too, which is also very nice. So I felt like that was a good thing they did. Gave a specialty transportation option. So, but anyway, I got this, right? And you can see here, you can see the size of it, and you can see kind of, it's made out of plastic. In 2009, I paid, I'm almost embarrassed to admit this, but I paid $16.95 without tax for this at Pop Century because I had to have it. I collected ornaments, Christmas ornaments at the time when I traveled, still do to some limited extent. And this was the only one they had. I had to do it. I had to. Disney's expensive. And this trip is expensive. But price is relative. It is. And I'm going to say this. I do feel like if you can afford a trip to Disney, you probably can afford this experience. But with this caveat, you're going to sacrifice something else. Okay. So instead of doing a week at Disney, you're going to do 2 days of this experience. Instead of doing a week on a Disney cruise, you're going to do 2 days of this experience. So with that caveat, if you can't afford Disney, yeah, you're not going to be able to afford this experience. That's for sure. The other thing about value, though, because there's been a lot of that, okay, for the price of 2 days on the Halcyon, I can do a whole week on a Disney cruise. Hell, I can do 2 weeks on a Carnival cruise for 2 days. But that's true of a lot of different things. I'm taking my son on a train trip the end of May, Memorial Day week, and the 1st of June. It's an overnight train trip. The train runs from Denver to San Francisco. It's supposed to be the most beautiful route on Amtrak. I'm very excited for it. It's one night. It's an overnight journey. You board during the day, overnight, get off the next day. And sorry, I had a glitch there for a second. I paused. For a bedroom on that with a bath is $2,000. It's expensive. It is. Amtrak's a great novelty. I love traveling by Amtrak. I really do. And I do think it's worth it. I do, because it's something you can't do any other way, in any other fashion. But it's $2,000 for one night. And if I were to double that trip, it'd be $4,000. If I went to San Francisco and then I got back on and went back to Denver, it'd be $4,000 for a bedroom with a bath. That is, what? $800 less than the Halcyon. And do I think the Halcyon would be worth that extra $800 compared to Amtrak? Oh, yeah. No matter what you may think about the food on the Halcyon, it's better than Amtrak. And no matter what you may think about the room and the size of the room on the Halcyon, it's bigger and better than Amtrak. And the service is probably going to be better too. It is. And it's a novelty and it's something special. So that's one comparison. I could do other ones like, say a business class ticket to Europe. It's probably going to be more than the Halcyon for one person round trip. For 2 coach class tickets to Europe round trip, I think you're going to be looking at something like $3,500. And that's just there and back, So there are a lot of comparisons you can make for value. And also like on that Amtrak trip for that one night, yeah, I could take I could take a week cruise on Carnival Cruise Lines instead of doing one night on Amtrak. And I could probably do 2 weeks on Carnival instead of one night if I did an inside room. So that's the thing about price and value. And I do think it's expensive, but I think it's worth it, would be a way of putting it. I think it's a pretty good value because you're not just booking a hotel, you're booking an in-depth, full-on experience for these 2 days. An adventure that you can't get and you can't do any place else. And if you're like me and you're like my son, I mean, I love Star Wars. I adore it. I've done, all sorts of different storylines with Star Wars, like fan fiction and shit like that. And I'm going to go. I'm going to go on the Halcyon Star Cruiser in August for my birthday. August 16th, my son and I will leave, and my birthday's on the 17th, and it was perfect. They even had the chef's table. They even have the captain's table still available on my birthday. So I'm going to be sitting there as well. And I do think it's worth it because I love Star Wars, and I will really, I'm kind of extroverted, kind of outgoing. It's easy for me to interact with people. I'm going to love that part. I am definitely the guy that plays along in Galaxy's Edge. When I was in Galaxy's Edge, people would make, I got pulled out of line at the Rise of the Resistance, by one of the officers, played right along with it. One of the salespeople in the First Order section of Batuu made a comment. I was wearing a rebellion jacket. I played along with it. Of course I did. I love that stuff. I love it. I'm already super excited about making our costumes. I've already started to order stuff for costuming, building our backstory, who we are, where we came from. Do I need any of that? No, of course I don't need it. Of course I don't. But it's all part of that adventure. And, I'm super excited for it. And like I said, I've done stories up. I'm going to post at some point. I will post a story I did through The Sims, that takes place at Galaxy's Edge. And I'm going to say this real quick. Let me say this too real quick, because there's also some dispute with people when this voyage takes place, right? Because it takes place between the miserable mess of The Last Jedi and the Rise of Skywalker. The incoherent mess of Rise of Skywalker. And I'm joking. I don't really like those 2 movies that much. I like Rise of Skywalker better than The Last Jedi, but I'm not a super big fan of the sequels. I don't mind the characters in the sequels. I really don't. In fact, I actually really, really like Finn. I really, really like Finn a lot. I thought he was super cool. I don't mind Rey. I don't mind Kylo. You know why? Because they're just the most recent incarnations of good versus evil. Okay? They're just good versus evil in Star Wars. Timeless idea, timeless thing. It could be Leia and Darth Vader, or it could be Padme and Palpatine. They're just good versus evil. They're the representations. And I see the Halcyon and Batuu for that reason, not as an element of the sequel era, but as timeless. The Halcyon is a timeless Star Wars location representing the more well-off, newer core worlds, with Galaxy's Edge representing the less well-off, older, used, worn-out Star Wars worlds. And the characters involved representing the timeless good versus evil. That's how I look at it. So I really don't have a problem with that either. And that's part of why I will like it. Because Kylo and Ren and all those other people, to me, those aren't the primary characters in this story. I am. I am the star in this story. My son and I are the primary characters in this story. The rest of them, even the big finale, that's supporting cast. That's just supporting background for my story and what I'm doing there. And I think that is kind of the secret to that. You can get really hung up in, I don't like the sequels, or I don't like the prequels, or I don't like Rey because she's way too overpowered, or I don't like Palpatine because he's boring in the Phantom Menace, whatever. I just see all of that as background and backdrop to what I'm doing, what I'm going to do. And once I decided on it, once I got set, I'm going to add a couple of days onto it. We will be there, I think 5 days total. Right now, we're going to get there the day before. Of course, get there the day before if you're doing something like this. Because if something goes wrong with our flights or whatever, yeah, I actually bought insurance for this trip just in case because of the way it's set up. I normally don't. But I want that extra day if something goes wrong to give me a catch-up day to actually get there, right? But we're going to go down hopefully the day before with no hiccups, no problems. And we're going to go to the Magic Kingdom that day. It occurred to me that this is the 50th anniversary of Disney. I hadn't paid a whole lot of mind to it. But we'll go and we'll see the new fireworks and see some of the decorations. And then we're going to stay the day we leave the ship, and the next day we'll also be there. The day we leave the ship, all I'm doing is staying at the resort. That is a pool day. It's going to be August in Florida. We're going to stay at Pop Century. Like I said, I do love it. This will be my third time at Pop Century. It's basically my favorite resort now. Port Orleans has always been my favorite. French Quarter, Port Orleans. But now Pop Century is because it's on the Skyliner. That's the big reason. But we're going to stay there. They've got great pools. I'm going to just hang out there all day long and probably sleep because I'm expecting to get about 4 hours a night on the Halcyon. I'm going to maximize my time. Are you kidding? Do you know how much it costs to be asleep? You know how much money it costs for me to be asleep on that ship? No, I got to be awake. So that day we're going to just kick it at the resort. And then the next day we're going to Epcot. Because again, I went to Disney in January of 2021, a little over a year ago. But since that time, there's 3 major attractions will be available at Epcot that weren't there then. Guardians of the Galaxy should be well and truly open by that point. The Ratatouille ride should be is open. And then Space 220, the restaurant, is also open now too. So I really want to do all 3 of those things. And we'll just check out Epcot again, see how much it's still under construction. And we're going to do that. And then we're going to come back the next day. I think it's going to be a great time. I'm sure you can tell. I am super excited. I really, really can't wait to go. Okay, so back. Sorry, a little bit of a cut there. Sometimes if there's a break, a little bit of fade. Sometimes my son needs me. So I stopped for a minute, actually to see him off. He's leaving for a couple of days. So I wanted to see him off real quick. But hey, what can I say? I am excited. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to go on this. I really am excited. It is expensive. One thing I want to say real quick, I'm going to do a couple of videos about costume creation and background character creation and stuff like that for people who might have an interest in that sort of idea. But also, if you're interested in going on this voyage, and not mine necessarily, but on the Halcyon in general, as a general idea as well, feel free to join mine. August 16th, we'll be there. But if you're looking to go, the price is substantial. And like in my case, and in a lot of people's cases, there just isn't, I think I've got a hair on my microphone there. There just isn't sometimes 4 people to go, because 4 people in the cabin is the best deal. I should put 5 in some cabins. 5. That's the best deal, right? There's a group on Facebook, and I'm going to put the link in the description. And it's like Sweet Mate. I think they call it Sweet Mate Finder or something like that instead of roommate, but Sweet Mate Finder. Where people who are traveling alone or just a couple are looking for people to fill the other 2 bunks, right? So several groups already through there have put together 4 people to fill the 4 spaces in the room. And then that brings the price down to $1,500 per person. Brings the price down. I know. $1,500 is still a lot for 2 days, but $750 isn't really. That's a much more reasonable price. And all your meals are included. Your admission into Disney Studios is included. And then, of course, just all of the interactions, the actor interactions, character interactions, stuff like that. So if you're thinking about it, you definitely can bring the price down as a single traveler or a couple, maybe a son and dad like myself, because I've thought about that. Now, I've not done it yet, but I have thought about, going on there and saying, hey, there's 2 berths open in my cabin if someone wants to come along. And then, that would bring the price down, like I said, considerably. But in the meantime, thank you for watching today. Please hit like, subscribe, and notify to watch for those other videos as we get into this adventure, get further along with this adventure. And for this time, thank you for watching.